One second. The Colonel Andriy Lysenko, the Information and Analytical Center of the Ukrainian Security and Defense Council spokesman. Шановні пані і панове, по кількості мікрофонів ви можете зрозуміти, що в нас вже тут Андрій Лисенко, речник інформаційного аналітичного центру РНБО.
Доброго дня, шановні колеги. Розпочинаємо наш брифінг стосовно ситуації.
Good afternoon. A brief information on Boeing 777 yesterday, 23rd of July, by two transportation aircrafts from Kharkiv to the Netherlands, where bodies of 40 people transported, people who perished on the 17th of July in the result of the downing of Boeing 77 of Malaysia Airlines. The measures related to transferring the bodies of the perished are at the control of the chief of the military of the Customs Service of Ukraine on emergency situation, Sergei Bachkovsky. We continue the offense of Ukrainian troops in the north of Lugansk and the west of Donetsk regions. The terrorists, now there are offensive battles going to liberate Lysychansk, to free Lysychansk. The terrorists are blocked in the city. The ways for withdrawal are cut off. The blocking of Donetsk and Lugansk continues. During the day, pro-Russian militants more than 20 times were shooting at the checkpoints and units of armed forces of Ukraine near Sabivka, Lozova, Dzержинsk, Dmitrievka, Stukalova, Balka, Grigorievka, Lugansk, Ambrosievka. There were shootings from Grad, from the territory of Russian Federation, of checkpoints near Ilyinka, Kamyshne, Berezove, Ambrosievka, Voikhovsky, and airport Lugansk. From the weapons, artillery weapons, the positions of ATO forces were shot near Marinivka. From the grenade launches, the checkpoints near Severodonsk and Smoleninovo. And they're not here on the map. And from the mine launches, the checkpoint near Avdiivka of Donetsk Oblast. The servicemen of National Guard of Ukraine seized the vehicle where 5 terrorists were trying to get to Marinivka of Donetsk region. There was a citizen of Russian Federation in this vehicle. During siege, Kalashnikov machine guns and hand grenades were seized from these terrorists. Yesterday, the units of the ATO shot down the Russian drone near Ambrosievka, which was doing investigation and adjusting fire of Russian artillery on positions of Ukrainian military. After that flight from 22:10 to 22:55 from the territory of Russian Federation, there was a massive shooting of the basic camp of tactical group of Ukraine using Grad sets and mine launches. The Russian Federation continues to increase their military presence close to Ukrainian border and not far from the border of Ukraine on the territory of Bryansk region. There is a field camp of the armed forces of Russian Federation in the forest near Stary Ropsk village of Bryansk region, 10 kilometers away from the state border. There are up to 30 units of armed equipment. The same camp with the same number of equipment is located in the forest near village Lade of Bryansk region, which is 3-4 kilometers away from state border. In the forest near Churovich, Zelenykut and Rudnya Tsata of Bryansk region, 10 kilometers away from state border. They organizing the disguised fire positions of the military vehicles of their personnel in the border regions across Kharkiv region. The Russian forces put 5 armored personnel vehicles, 3 tanks, and other military equipment, and they used for that the territory of the children camp. In this camp, there are about 500 Russian military, and their numbers growing. On the border with Ukraine, the provocations continue from the side of the armed forces of Russian Federation in Sumsky region at 4:20 p.m. in the cross-point Gaivorant of Russian Federation, the column of Russian military equipment with the flags of their own armed forces, 7 armored personnel carriers and 2 more came to the neutral area at a high speed after the Ukrainian checkpoint was ready to fight near the crosspoint Velikopiserivka. This column returned back to Russian Federation. Yesterday we observed the movement of the military column of 7 armored personnel carriers with Russian flags near that were moving on the territory of Russian Federation across the Sumsky region. According to our information, the local citizens of the area in Belgorod region are trying to sell their own houses and move to the rear regions of Russian Federation continues to expand to disseminate the statements about use by Ukrainian forces of phosphorus armaments, but we can say that these type of the armaments were banned back in 1984. Ukraine received the proof of using by terrorists of republics negotiations about getting such phosphorus cartridges from Russia. That is why we can state that in case this is received, Ukrainian mercenaries will use that, will blame Ukrainian military that Ukrainians are using them. Yesterday, Donetsk terrorists attacked and dropped in the center Donetsk city in the Donetsk, and the losses are $1 million. There were meetings in Alchevsk. Many thousand women addressed the occupants and they demand that they leave their city. Every day we have more and more facts which confirm that so-called Donetsk and the Lugansk republics are terrorist organizations. They create direct threat to the life of peaceful citizens of Donbass. The Security Service of Ukraine warned stopped the series of acts of terrorism, the result of which hundreds of children of Slavyansk could have suffered. The video, please. The video shows the building and the yard of the school number 4. Here the terrorists in the classrooms, they organize the laboratory where they are making the explosives. You see special wires, the boxes, and other objects which are used when manufacturing explosives. Only in one room they found 4 such explosives and 5 kilograms of plastide, which was to be used for remote explosion. The other educational establishments in Slavyansk were mined using similar explosives. On the tables you see everything. The powder that was put inside the explosive devices. And these are these explosive devices. Also, inside there's this explosive, and in the yard of the school there was a stronghold and firing points organized. There are trenches. You can see them here, these explosives, which are ready to be used. Thanks to the work of our specialists, we managed to stop that, and now the investigation is going on, and they investigate. They believe that on the 1st and 2nd of September, when the children were to go to school, the mercenaries were planning this act of terrorism. And we cannot call these people not even bandits, but Russian terrorists who were ready to kill Ukrainian children. As to the international situation, the head of the committees of the U.S. Senate on foreign policy, Robert Menendez, and on armed forces, Carl Levin, and also Senator from California, Dianne Feinstein, sent a letter to the President Obama with the demand to recognize both republics as terrorist organizations. They also called upon White House to introduce additional sanctions against defense, financial, and energy sectors of Russian economy in relation with the events in Ukraine. Most of the representatives in the Council of Directors of EBRD, including all members, country members of EU, gave the instructions to the leadership of the bank to suspend new investments into Russian Federation. In the result of bilateral meetings, the ministers of foreign affairs of Poland, Radzislaw Sikorski, and Germany, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, stated that the EU is intending to introduce the third package of sanctions against the Russian Federation in relation with the aggression against Ukraine and support by Russia of terrorists who operate in the east of Ukraine. That is all the information. Your questions, please.
Thank you. Questions, please. Radio Svoboda, Bogdana Kostyum. Colonel, I have a question. At one of the meetings of the Security and Defense Council, all the line had to be reinforced, and the decision was made. Have you started the civil works? Yes, thank you very much. The line, the border that is now under fire from terrorists of the Russian Federation, it's being arranged with civil works, but we can now we cannot do that in the places where the direct combat is observed. After the conclusion of the operation, that will be done. NTN TV channel. What's the situation in Lysychansk, and why are we having encounters there, and are there any casualties and any influx of armored vehicles and any military machinery into Ukraine? I would like to emphasize that considering that the President of Ukraine ordered not to open fire from heavy metal at populated communities, the land forces are using small firearms, and they are liberating neighborhoods one by one. It's impossible to apply heavy metal, and the operation is lengthy because of that, but terrorists are getting weaker, and Lysychansk will be taken by the Ukrainian military forces. And we are opening the way to Horlivka and then directly to Donetsk. And the second question, whether there was any penetration of armored vehicles, armor. No information of such kind. Now about casualties. Unfortunately, we have them. Over last day, we lost 4 military officers. Out of them, in combat at Lysenko, commander of military unit of the National Guard, Colonel Alexander Radievsky. He was courageous and well-trained and experienced commander. Had spent 2.5 months in that area, and he was fighting for villages and towns in that area. On the 15th of July, he was awarded with the Gallantry Order of the 3rd degree, but for valor. And the 3rd Associated Press, Donetsk citizens are still at fire, and they often accuse the Ukrainian army that shelling. Is it in the tactics of the Ukrainian army to do that? The residential areas and about the fighters that were downed yesterday. It was done within the area of 30 kilometers from the crash site.
В радиусе 40 километров не должно.
And President said that the area of 40 kilometers, diameter, it's not radius, diameter.
20 кілометрів, а діаметр
Radius is 20 kilometers, diameter is 40. 20 plus 20. So where the fighters were down, it's not within the area. About Donetsk, we have our evidence that the terrorists are shelling on purpose the residential areas of Donetsk from heavy metal. Then it includes mine throwers or trench mortars based on vehicles that are movable, and that in that way they're trying to introduce the idea of the Ukrainian military forces doing that. And Ukrainian forces never use any artillery or aviation against villages and towns, any communities. These are infantry and special force, house by house, street by street. They liberate the community. That's why I explained why Lysychansk is not yet taken by the Ukrainian forces, not liberated. And this is the reason why this cannot be done. Everything that is happening there is of terrorists doing, and that's how they try to inform the locals with their propaganda.
Have you found the 2 pilots who were shot down yesterday? And my second question, can you give me an update on the status of the 9 Nigerians who've been kidnapped? Colonel, did you find the pilots who were kidnapped yesterday? So sorry.
Дякую за ваше питання.
ще з приводу України.
Now about the Ukrainian pilots. They are not taken prisoners. This is number one. Secondly, about the Nigerian students taken hostages. We're working on their release, and the details are not disclosed because we do not want to interfere with the process of negotiations for their safety. Thank you. And the fourth row. Colonel, have you evacuated the wounded from the territory of the Russian Federation? How many? They wanted compensation for the medical care. Is it true? And we also know that among those wounded, we had also one person who was killed, and is the body in Ukraine yet? Thank you very much for the question. And one more. And whether there are any people who remain in the territory, the military officers. 18 people arrived in the territory of Ukraine by airlift, and the dead person was among them. Because of wounds, he died. No names given because it's confidential. Their personal confidential information. The relatives have to provide. And another answer: have to provide the consent. 4 military officers are remaining there. They are not transportable because of their heavy wounds in difficult state. As soon as they become transportable, they will be brought back to Ukraine by all means, and this is under our control. The compensation. The compensation for medical care, this will be solved by our diplomats through their channels.
Colonel, yesterday you said Russia had shot down the 2 fighters, but it was only preliminary information. Are you now prepared to accuse Russia of shooting down those aircraft with weapons fired from inside the Russian Federation? And can you confirm that the planes were at 5,200 meters, as you said yesterday, or were they at a lower altitude as part of an attack run, as one supposed witness has said? And were they involved in combat within the exclusion zone around the site of the Malaysian airliner?
Thank you for question.
At the 5,200 meters, that was the altitude. They were down at Savur-Mohyla. That was the site they were covering for our group. That was its operation near Tarani. The crash site is to the north from that. I'm not prepared to say from the top of my head how many kilometers away, but away. And they were coming back from the operation, and they were hit by the missiles into the tail, and they were down that way. And we have no evidence or testimonies provided by the pilots, but they are coming back. We are bringing them back, and we still have one of the missiles that was launched by the professional crew from the territory of the Russian Federation.
Whether you're yesterday, at the beginning of the briefing, you seemed to be accusing Russia, and then later in the briefing you said, no, it's not an accusation, it's only preliminary information. So now it's many hours later. What is your conclusion?
Thank you for
We have not accused Russia because we do not have enough evidence for that. There was one of the versions expressed that that was from the territory of Russian Federation by professional crew of anti-aircraft complex. There were missiles launched that downed Ukrainian jets, but the final information will be made public after Ukrainian pilots provide their information. We analyze the whole situation. Now we are not accusing anyone. We just have versions. 112 Ukraine. Could you please say, do you know where the body of Bogdan Zavada is? Will it be possible to transfer it to his family? And talking about the transfer of the body and the issue of those people who are captured, these are very delicate issues, and we are not emphasizing these things, because based on the experience, as soon as we start emphasizing something, as soon as we start emphasizing some hostage or captured person, then the price goes up from terrorists. The body will be returned. We'll do everything we can for that. Talking about Su-25 fighters, there were 4 of them yesterday, and mass media says that that was downed by MiG, Russian MiG fighter. Does that mean that Russian fighters are flying over the territory of Ukraine? What's the situation with anti-aircraft defense? What the problem is? Is it the commanding personnel? 3 days ago, we interviewed one person who came out of the presidential administration. She called herself Anna Kovalenko. She said that she's a theater university graduate, and she's the advisor to the Minister of Defense. So the ballet school graduate is the advisor to the Minister of Defense. What's the problem with that? Thank you for all these questions. I'm ready to answer each one of them. Let's start from the end. The Minister of Defense, as far as I know, the minister has advisors in different directions. The Ministry of Defense is where they work both on culture and military training. Then is anti-aircraft defense operating. The Air Force of Ukraine are now in the state of the readiness. It's working, it's operating. The version as to the fighters over the territory of Ukraine, Russian means. We are not discussing it at all. Now we expect to get the final results from this investigation. We do not have witnesses who can give main evidence. We are waiting for them to return. And you said that there were 4 people perished during the last day. How many wounded, and what is the situation with the brigades which are near Mariinka? Because according to volunteers and their relatives, they are in very difficult situation. 25 people wounded there. The first one about wounded, we have 35 wounded during the last 24 hours. As to the situation that you mentioned, Marинivka, Dovzhanske, Chervono-Partizanske, and everything else, Marinivka is here. All the ammunition that they need, they have. We supply on a permanent basis. We do not say what are the routes, because these routes will be closed if we say. So I can say that the guys who are there at the front line, these are heroes, and they are executing their task. They're doing their utmost. They will not be left. In some time, some other assistance will be provided. We have we're working all the time, and that's a comprehensive plan of liberating the territory, including the defense here. You see that simultaneously there's an offense from the north, from the south, and from the west. So the guys are holding defense, and they do not let additional forces of militants to strengthen these groups. It's difficult for everyone now. Thank you. What in reality you can do with shootings buy grads from Russian territory. You cannot fight back. Should our soldiers just be patient? And also, are you using volunteers like Dar Azov battalions in Lugansk? Every unit involved into anti-terrorist operation has its own task, and they executing these tasks. Everyone is doing it perfectly well. What to do with grads and so on. The partial mobilization has been announced, and this will help our guys to get more people. There are people who were killed and wounded, and also we will have an active reserve which will help to liberate all this territory as soon as possible. Also, a lot is done in international field. The sanctions are applied. And sanctions, you should understand, that's the procedure. It doesn't work in a second, in an hour. That's preparation. Russians understand that if it goes as it does, they will have to stop their support to terrorists. As soon as all that works, and this will work, we will finish this conflict and we will win. But you said that every unit has its function. Are these voluntarily units, volunteers units used in Lugansk and Donetsk? Every unit has its own task, and they are exercising this task, executing this task. What they are doing, I will not tell you. That's confidential. To clarify about the pilots of Su-25 fighters, they are not they are not captured. As soon as they get on our territory, I will tell you. And there was information that the citizens of Lysychansk, where terrorists request to give them the corridor to leave this place. Can you confirm that? And is it possible to provide this corridor for them, for the citizens of Lysychansk, to leave Lysychansk? For that, they do not need any corridor. If they want to leave this area, they can easily cross the checkpoints of Ukrainian forces. They will not be just let out, they will be assisted, and they will be taken out into the special places where they will be rendered assistance. The main thing is that the terrorists should not touch them, because they are doing such things that you cannot characterize them in human words. France Press, can you please tell what is the situation with Ukrainian armed forces near Tarany and 25th Air Mobile Brigade? Is it there? We are not talking about location of the brigades. That's the issue of security of military people. And the situation in which they are, that's very tense all the time. Defense all the time, shooting, they are defending. The question from foreign journalist.
Opposition, the people you are fighting against, they are divided. Apparently, somebody came out and said yesterday that that the Malaysian flight was shot down by Buk missiles. He later retracted it. Of the different groups that you are fighting in the area, which is the hardest one to fight? Which is the best organized? Which is the most dangerous one, seen from a Ukrainian point of view?
Thank you for questions.
I can tell you that all who have weapons and who's firing at Ukrainian military men, these are not people, these are terrorists, first. Second, whatever group it is, talking about numbers, talking about more or less arms, they will be liquidated, eliminated. That's not an obstacle for Ukrainian military. Our main task is to free our land, to liberate it from terrorists. That's the main thing, and we do not care what they have. They will be eliminated. Another question. No more questions. Thank you. and waiting forward to seeing you here at 5.